Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. Um, Rhea and Daniel, can you please turn? Ah, yes. Good. Thanks. When I came to India 45 years ago, I went to Bombay to an ashram, Chinmaya mission, to study Vedanta. At the same time, Nisargadatta was still there. So I went a few times to see his satsang from the Chinmaya mission. So the first time, with two other brahmacharis from that ashram, we were sitting there. He was encouraging to ask something. And I remember I asked him, I'm studying now this Vedanta. I'm being told you are Brahman. There is only Brahman. I hear it, I read it, I think about it, I contemplate, I meditate, and yet my experience is still the same. Why? And Maharaj said, it's because of ignorance. Well, exactly. But what is this ignorance that we are having? Somehow, in the process of projecting into this time space, when the consciousness awakes, there is that forgetting what we are, where we are coming from. Still, the little baby, uncontaminated by all the mental stuff of this world, is in touch, not in full consciousness, but in touch with that. And you can see it, it shines through them. But then, from the beginning, we are being influenced from all the people around. We are influenced how to think, how to feel, how to behave, how to perceive. And this is hardening and hardening as we are growing up. As long as we are not questioning that, but simply follow, which invariably is going to happen, except maybe a few rare beings who come with that consciousness intact. But otherwise, invariably one is sucked into that stream, being pushed and formed and pulled and compelled to experience the world in a particular way. Those who push and pull and confirm and compel, they don't even know that they are doing that. They are in that current. They have been, to them, the same thing have been done, and then it has crystallized. And if they have not questioned that perception, that way of thinking, feeling, being, then invariably they push it on their children. And the whole world around, everything confirms this is the reality. Well, this is just one way to perceive something totally mysterious. And of course, then that identification with one's own person is pushed. You have a name, you have a body, you have certain abilities, you have certain rights. Everything is being drummed into this consciousness all the time. And we are not questioning it usually when we are growing up. And that makes all that ignorance that we are not capable of becoming aware. Hey, prior to all that, there is something so totally untouched by any of that suggestion, by any of that hypnosis. Pure, unaffected. It has never gone away. It is still there. It is that which makes the whole experience possible. It cannot be absent. It's not that we lost it somewhere on the way and somehow we have to go and search and find it. When you say it is so fleeting and nobody recognizes it, but immediately the attention is touching that ground. You say I, immediately something very spectacular happens. The attention simply, boom, touches that sense of presence, that sense of being that is so familiar. Not all the ideas we have about ourselves, they are also very familiar. They are contradictory, they are crazy, they are upside down, they're doing all kinds of things, but they are very familiar. But prior to that, simply that sense of being present is so totally familiar, we cannot possibly deny it. And it's always there, we simply overlook it. But this is the point where we can find that which is unexplainable, unknowable by the intellect. We cannot somehow put it in concepts. And yet it's so simple. It's not because it's too complicated that we cannot explain it. It's so simple. It simply is that sense that we are experiencing all the time. But because the attention is so absorbed in all the other things, we are overlooking it, that sense of presence that we are touching when we say I. When we start out on the spiritual journey, we get all kinds of ideas. I have to turn a bit because of the wind that is getting stronger and most probably making noise in the microphone. This sense of presence that is always there, prior to any thought, prior to any feeling, prior to any sense perceptions. So totally familiar, we just have to learn to recognize it. And when I asked Maharaj, why am I not experiencing that? In spite of hearing all these wonderful teachings, thinking about it, meditating about it, why is my experience not changing? Because of ignorance. And that ignorance is this conditioning that we have been strengthening and strengthening and strengthening while growing up. Learning to identify with a role that we are playing so strongly that we simply cannot be aware of that which is always there prior to all that. We just have to come home. Just have to learn whatever we are doing, wherever we are going, when we are alone, when we are with people, to somehow bring the attention back to that conscious, very familiar sense of presence, sense of being conscious, sense of being alive. We cannot possibly deny it. How could it be absent? Without that, there is no sense of perception, there is no world, there is nothing. Sometimes people say, but if you do self-inquiry or meditating on the ego, doesn't matter. If you, as a person, ask, who am I? And you are very much caught up in the mind, and immediately, without thinking too much, all these explanations are there. What am I? I know what I am. I am like this, I'm like that. Still, that I sense is borrowed from that which is prior. And through that, you are still touching that reality. It cannot be separate from that. The traditional jnana approach that tries to separate the attention from this fixation by denying neti neti. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the prana, I'm not the intellect, I'm not this, I'm not that. But nothing of that is apart, is separate. There is no barrier in between. So it doesn't matter if the one who starts with self-inquiry focuses on the me, personality first, but if the focus remains, then the mind is quietening down. And when the mind is quietening down, all that ignorance becomes more transparent. That hypnosis, that conditioning that has been accumulating, solidifying, that we are not questioning, if we are not maintaining it by thinking about it all the time, it becomes transparent. And even if you are, then sometimes people talk about, yes, but the small I, this is the false I, there is a real I. There are not two eyes. There is simply the misunderstanding of that, what we call I, by identifying with its expressions, with the story, with the sense perceptions, what they are creating. But still, the life in it, the consciousness in it, is still the real life, the real consciousness. So one can very well focus first on that personality because the awareness of something subtler is not there. But if we stay with that and stop thinking about it, automatically the attention is sinking deeper and deeper and letting go of that fixation of the me and the world, the separation and the stories, what happened yesterday, what happens tomorrow, and comes back home to that awareness of being conscious, that awareness of being alive, of that one point, that one split second where we are touching reality. Somehow or other, that is the job. Whether we are doing it with inquiry or in any other way, somehow or other we have to convince our mind, convince ourselves that it's worth the trouble to look in this direction and not always to look out and seek and hope for some kind of fulfillment there. We can play our role. We can play our role beautifully. We can play our role creatively. Great, wonderful. Somehow or other, we have to spend the time. Something or other we have to do. We can as well make a beautiful story out of a beautiful role, but it's a role. Whether it's a beautiful story or not, it's a role that we are playing. It's not what we are. That sense of presence, that consciousness of being alive, that is so familiar, that I'm touching when I say I. That's the direction to look. This is the first expression of that mystery that is prior to that. We cannot directly put the attention on that because it's absolutely beyond anything we can feel, think, imagine. But we can come to that first expression, that pure consciousness, that pure love, that pure energy, that sense of being alive and conscious. Be open. And from this point, there is no way to make an effort. We just have to present ourselves innocent, like a child, pure and open. But already, when you are capable of connecting with that base, that pure consciousness, there is no suffering. Here, now, there is no suffering. The suffering always comes with the thought of yesterday, now as a fleeting moment in time, and tomorrow. Suffering is always connected with the me personality, with a story. Here, now, you being rooted, resting, relaxing in that sense of presence, there is no suffering. That ignorance has grown in time and we can undo in time. There's no time to reach reality. Reality is here, timelessly. There's nothing to be reached. It's that which makes the experience possible. But we may need some time to undo the fixations that we have created. That's why it may look like quite a journey, quite a work to do. But the work is not to find something new. The work is more to become aware what we are doing, become aware what we have built, and then learn to undo it. We don't have to forget and become a tabula rasa. If we just remember yesterday that we don't remember anything. These memories are there as a storehouse of information, nothing wrong with that, but we have to learn to be aware that this is just a role, that we are not limited by that. We are prior to that. How we are doing it, it doesn't matter. Self-inquiry is just one way. Who am I? I am. Everything that helps you to become more conscious of that base, of that ground, is valid. It's good to choose something that is natural and basically stay with that. We can expand it on the way. We can add new aspects, maybe drop certain aspects. But it's good that we are choosing the way to approach in our natural way and not how we have been told by somebody else. We can listen to the teachings, we can listen to the teachers, what they are proposing, and if it resonates, fine. But you have to find that which is the most natural. That is the best way to go about it. And it can be a combination of different practices, wielding it in a new practice, our own personal practical way, how we catch the attention and cut through that layer of ignorance and come back to that simple sense of being. It's all we can do, but that's what we need to do. Nobody else is going to do it. We can get a lot of inspiration, we can get a lot of support, but then it's each one's own journey. No God, no guru, no teacher, nobody is going to do that for us. Some teachers give experiences that may be inspiring, but the experience is coming, it's going, it may momentarily open up the perception, but then it's still the job of each one to be alert, to become aware, even when there have been great, wonderful experiences. After that, the mind has the tendency to fall back in its usual way of functioning and create again that sense of separation and all the old habits that they come back, that we recognize them and let them go. At least those habits that disturb us, that prevent us from connecting consciously. That is the job. For that, all these different teachings, all these different paths, all these different techniques have been created, while what's needed is basically simple. And the best way to go about it is that way that is natural for us, that comes, that resonates strongly. If we hear about it, and when we start to practice it, we see it's naturally happening. It is always here, it is always now, it is never absent. Somehow we just have to find our way home, back home, to that which is prior to the dream, prior to the story, prior to the happy times, prior to the nightmares. That which makes the experience possible. Hario, Hario, Hario. Okay, my friends. Now I have been talking. Now I'm asking you, is there anyone here who would like to come in and say something? You're welcome to do so. Hello, Ravi. You're still muted. You have to unmute. We cannot hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So I mentioned in the past that I've been doing Abhyanga, so putting oil in my body, the Indian practice, Ayurvedic practice, in the bathroom in the evenings, and I meditate at the same time. Mm-hmm. And recently I was listening to something by Dr. Vasant Lad, an Ayurvedic, he's kind of a world famous Ayurvedic doctor. And he said that, so are you able to hear me, Werner, clearly?
Yeah, I had to put my volume a bit louder, and now it's wonderful. Yeah.
Fantastic. And so he said that he was at his friend's house and he noticed that the bathroom was in the southwest corner of the house.
Yeah.
And according to Vastu, which is the Vedic Indian version, I guess, of Feng Shui in
Yeah.
China, that can lead to certain particular health problems, one of which would be a bowel cancer type thing. And then he said, sure enough, not that he was expecting it, but he shortly after he found out his friend whose house he was at had bowel cancer. So our bathroom's in the southwest corner, and I went onto ChatGPT, and it leads. So in Vastu, it says that it had the particular symptoms. It can increase symptoms in the body, and the symptoms are all many of the symptoms that I have in my body. And I certainly don't believe that the bathroom was the cause of my health issues.
Yeah.
But I am. It is the most the word for it. It's just the best place in the house for me to do Abhyanga because it's got lots of heat coming in from the lights, and it's a bathroom, so the oil doesn't. It's the most practical place to do it.
Yeah.
And I know you can, I need to look at counteracting the energies. There are things you can do like light incense and put something in the bathroom and do this to kind of try to balance out the energies more. But I think ultimately, it's not the ideal place. I mean, we're not going to move house or anything. That's not going to happen. But I guess if I had a choice, I would prefer not to do it in that bathroom, but practically it just seems the best place to do it. I mean, I guess I could choose not to meditate there and just put the oil on, but doing them at the same time saves a bit of time in my day, in my busy schedule. Can you please shed some light on your thoughts on this?
Yes, my spontaneous reaction is, don't you worry about it. But it's good that you know about it, but not in order to create a problem in your mind. But then when you know, then you can say, okay, this is not the ideal place on this material level, but my mental condition is much more important than physically what location the room is. And you can very strongly make that intent that you neutralize any negative effect that could come from this physical reality because of the position of that room. And if you do that with conviction, that is much stronger of an influence than the influence of the physical position of that room. If we can adjust our situation to this kind of rules easily, why not do it? But if it's clear that it's somehow from the situation not really practicable, that you change that, then you can accept, okay, it's not the ideal place, so what, there's nothing that is really ideal and perfect on this material level. But I see that there can be a little unfavorable influence from that fact. But if I'm aware of that and I intend to not being disturbed or hurt by that, then this is much stronger. Simply don't let this doubt now settle in and nag on you. Maybe this is hurting me. Maybe it's doing something bad. Because the more you are opening up to that, the more there will be a negative influence. If you accept, all right, it's not ideal, but so what? what I'm bringing into it is much stronger than that influence. It's neutralizing. Then you can really continue as you're doing without having any problem about it.
And when you're talking about neutralizing, are you talking about connecting to presence?
I'm not saying that you should somehow try to feel in any negative influence and then do something about it. Simply, if you are aware it's there, but you don't give way, and instead of that, you make sure in your mind that in spite of such an influence is there, what is coming here, what is happening here is stronger than it's neutralizing all by itself.
I didn't hear the first part of what you said, but I think what you're saying is that rather than feeling like I'm fighting the energy and I have to be in the space of presence, just to realize that I am beyond that. Ultimately, I'm beyond that. My pure essence is beyond that. Just have that intention when I go in there. Oh, I don't know. Can you explain it again?
Yes. Anyhow, what you are saying is perfect. You are beyond that. But then, because you have now read that, the doubt may sneak in. Maybe, maybe it's not good. Maybe it's doing something harmful. And when these kind of thoughts come, when the memory comes, then don't try to push it away in the subconscious, but can accept, okay, even though on that physical level, according to certain ideals and teachings, this is not the perfect situation. There can be a bit an unfavorable influence, favorable influence. Then you just decide for yourself. But this is just a little influence. That devotion, that sincerity that I'm bringing into this situation is so much stronger. So not simply try to escape that I'm beyond that, but you can confront the fact that on a certain level, supposedly it is not perfect, but so what? You can bring a strength, an intensity, a clarity in the situation that is neutralizing on that material level where there can be an unfavorable influence. You can neutralize that negativity by simply having faith in yourself, by being strong, by consciously telling yourself, even if it's there, my intent, my sincerity, what I'm bringing here is so much stronger than that, so it doesn't matter.
What do you mean by my intent, my sincerity? Is that to be conscious while I'm in there?
Yes, I mean, you're doing that, your practice for a certain purpose. And you are not wanting to do that just because you don't know to do anything better. But you want, whatever practice you are doing, the point, the ultimate point is that this is one way to connect with reality. Even if it's rituals for purification and all that, it's still, the point of it is always that you connect with your essence.
I
And,
guess I guess.
and that sincerity about that you bring in. It's then not an escape from that material level where there is something not okay, but it's simply you bring also on the material level with your sincerity, what you are doing there, what, why you are doing it, such a strength in it that this kind of things really doesn't matter. It has very little influence.
Yeah, I really like that. I was going to say that I guess sometimes I I don't always meditate. Sometimes I'll put all on, but I might have a little break and do a few tasks on my phone. Usually I don't, but sometimes I do. So sometimes I'm in the bathroom and I can not be that conscious. But I guess without going into fear, I can just use the knowledge of the bathroom and the energy there as, like you said, to see it as a small thing and also see it as a little bit of a push to rise above the small thing, right? As a challenge to
Yes,
become more conscious.
right, right. That's the spirit.
And then if I want to balance out, I mean, there are methods of how to do it in Ayurveda, how they suggest it, but putting photos of Amma up in the bathroom, I don't know what other people would say about it. They might say that's not a good place to put a photo of Amma.
Yeah,
But I kind of think that Amma is everywhere anyway, and
yeah.
why not be reminded of about the divine when I'm in a bathroom? Why does it matter?
Yes.
So that's
For Indians, this sounds strange, but all the Westerns are doing so.
right. And the second thing is, yeah, I know like if you put like a crystal in the bathroom, they have a life force and an energy.
Yes.
And if you put they in Ayurveda, they mentioned you can use a pyramid, which a particular type of pyramid that has an energy, or some salts to absorb the negative energy.
Yes.
If I put a photo of Amma, it's just a photo, I guess. It's the meaning that I bring to it. So when I'm not in the bathroom, is it balancing out? I mean, I guess ultimately for me, it's the feeling of feeling safe, and that's about me, as you said, just not going into fear. But also, it's when you put a plant or you create a beautiful energy and you balance out the energy. Does that happen with putting a photo of Hummer there?
I mean, all these things, including all the other things that you said, like putting a salt light or a pyramid or anything, there can be a help. But what I have said first is the main thing. Your intent, your strength, your conviction is more important than any of this. If you want to have little helpers like that to do something on that level where there is something negative, you can perfectly well do so. Nothing wrong with that. But it's not, we don't have to start to depend on those and think they are going to do the job. The job is ours.
Thank you so much, Werner.
You're welcome. I wish you
Thank
well.
you.
Hari Om.
Thank you. Hurry on.
Hari Om. I see Andreas coming in.
Hello.
Hello,
Just
Andreas.
hello. Just to connect to that, what Ravi was saying, the like how strong is the influence of the bathroom in the wrong place? Is it like, could you compare it to like when you be in a polluted, busy street
Mm.
with bad fumes compared to being in a forest or nice nature?
Mm.
So,
Yes,
so
you can say it goes in the same direction because that divinity you can also connect with in the road with bad fumes and all that, and you can connect with in the forest, but the influence that comes is more suitable in the forest than in the road. But if you connect in the road, then actually that is that much the stronger that what you are doing, what you are getting from it, because the adverse effects. Yes, you can say compare. Hmm.
because sometimes I read the same stuff like Ravi, and I think, oh, I have to do something about it. Someone told me that like wearing a watch on the wrist is not very good. But then I think this is just a minor thing. It's not fun. And because you cannot feel it very precisely, you just sometimes overblow the whole thing.
I mean, you hear so many things what is not good. And on the other hand, you hear so many things what is good. And if there are things that spring up and resonate with you, you can adjust. But otherwise, one can get worried more and more and more, taking all that too serious. All these influences are there, but what I said to Ravi is important. What we bringing into the situation is more important. And we can connect with that essence no matter what the circumstances.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And second question, can you talk a little bit about form? Like the identification with our form compared to the beliefs that we have about our body, the mental identification with the body, and the real experience of form.
What do you mean with the real experience of form? The experiencing the physicality of your body? Or what did you mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure what experiencing form really means. I think it's probably what you said, like experiencing the physicality of the body.
Yeah.
And this is something very different than the ideas that I have about my body, right? And the identification with the body.
Yes. Basically, the body is absolutely not the problem. The problem is the mind, what we are doing in the mind. If the mind is always focused on the body and thinks that's me, and busy with the appearance and busy with all the relations that that body has, and what kind of good things one can get to it, and the little pleasure one can squeeze out if the thoughts are always focused on that, then this becomes a real prison. But otherwise, feeling the body, feeling the form is not really preventing you from contacting your essence. You can even use it as a gateway to bring the attention back to the body sensations. And then we don't have to get stuck there, but all we have to do when you feel the body sensations is to relax. And it's like your attention is sinking deeper towards the source. So don't fight with the form, with that there is a body that has a certain density, that has an appearance. Okay, it's there. It changes all the time. It comes. Eventually it will be gone. But right now, it's through that form that you are expressing yourself on this level. But that is not the problem. The problem is what we mentally do about that situation, that we misunderstand that situation and are not aware that this form is just an instrument through which I can express myself, with which I can connect on this level with other forms. Instead of that, we are identifying and think that's what I am, and then it becomes problematic because then it's very limited, and the limitations that we are imposing on our conscious experience because of that are very painful.
Is there a formless state? Like in Buddhist meditation, they say at a certain point you drop name and form. And
of course, the consciousness is formless, except if we keep on forcing it to hold on to a form. But consciousness is formless. And actually, most of the time, one who is living an ordinary life is not conscious of the form. The attention is somewhere else, and there is no idea, I'm this form, and be conscious of the form. There is just the conscious of being alive and busy with something. It's not difficult to detach from that form if we are looking how it's happening all the time. People are a moment very fixed on the form, but then the attention wanders somewhere and they forget about the form.
But isn't the identification with my body, so maybe the identification with my form, always in the background of my mind? I always believe that I'm in this body in a way. And this, I mean, this is not, I'm not consciously thinking about it, but it's some kind of thing that I always suppose is take as a given.
Take as a given, and this is so strong that after that, it's not continuously there. In the back of the mind, maybe yes, but it's not continuously there, but we are reinforcing it again and again and again in so many situations that that's all there that I am without thinking these thoughts. Just a deep belief that this is so, and then that is so according to our experience. But if we just would look a little closer, we would quickly recognize, of course, it is not so. I cannot limit my consciousness to this form. Its consciousness is expansive. The moment I'm not forcing it, painful to be identified with that form, immediately, consciousness relax and is expansive, effortlessly, naturally.
It sounds like for you it's a living experience, but for me it rarely happens.
But it does happen if you let it happen. Right. And it will happen easier and unannounced, effortlessly. Sometimes you make an effort and then it happens. But then it will happen effortlessly, unannounced. And then, of course, the tendency is there, oh, I have to do something about it and immediately start again a process to disturb it. But if we learn then just to relax, then it takes on more and more that flavor of being natural. And then we just have to open up the heart to that naturalness and it happens by itself.
Is that a formless state then?
You can call it like this if you want, yes. You are formless, essentially. And even your first expression, the pure consciousness, that pure energy, that pure love is formless. But it has the potential of all the forms in it. The potential is there in it to take up any form. They change all the time, the forms, but the essence of it is formless. It's not a state, it's a fact. It's not something that we are producing with a lot of techniques. It's there anyhow, whether we are aware of it or not.
We are producing the identification with the form, right?
No, I mean what you are is there. The identification with the form, even accepting that form and accepting that there is a connection is nothing, it's not creating a problem, but limiting ourselves to that form and think that's all I am. That is painful. That is a problem.
So there's a connection to the form.
Right, of course. That form is, even if some say in their practice, I'm not a body, it's not really a true statement. It's just a technique to detach from that obsession. But the body cannot possibly be apart from what you are. It cannot be separate from what you are. Without you, there is also no body.
But the essence can separate from the body?
The essence is never bound to the body. The essence is expressing itself through this body and 100 million more ways. But trying to limit ourselves to that physical appearance, that is like trying to force the consciousness to be small, to be in that form, to be that form. And that is totally against the natural state of consciousness, the natural way of consciousness. Consciousness naturally is expanding, expansive, if we are not preventing it. And that forcibly try to limit it to a form that creates a problem. That is painful. But we can very well accept, okay, for the time being, the body is also there. It's an expression of yourself. It's not a part, it's not separate, cut off from yourself.
And is the expression to my body and form stronger than the connection to other forms? Or could you just, like, if you want to go into a form?
Ultimately, all is equally connected in that all oneness. But in that all oneness, there is also the multiplicity. There is not simply an ego or then the impersonal beingness. There is also a being. That being is the oneness and yet has its own unique center. It's like a unique center of perception in that oneness. And that being is projecting itself into this three-dimensional world. And of course, because of that, there is a special connection to that body, to that particular expression through which the connection is made, through which this whole level is being perceived.
In the Buddhist texts, there are a lot of passages where it's described that the Buddha changes, like the levels, that he goes to the levels of God or gods or animals, or just enters into different worlds. Is it possible that you can explain this a little bit with the things you just said?
Well, if one is free from that identification with a form, then there is the potential and there is no limit to that potential. That doesn't mean at the moment you detach, after that you are capable of going into bodies of animals and or going into bodies of gods. But the potential for that is there in everybody, and gradually they may manifest. Some people may put a lot of effort in it to develop certain capacities, but generally it's rather not encouraged, because it's better to just put all our attention to be really centered in that essence. And then the potential of it will start to gradually manifest itself.
I got that. Yeah, that is not something very important, but
No.
I'm still curious.
Yes, right. Of course, this kind of stuff that is unusual is fascinating for the mind. But if one goes for this kind of things, then the tendency is that we get lost into details instead of using our time to go straight to the jackpot.
I'm not planning to do this very. I'm just curious if it feels like, is it then like, could you say it's like you can enter like different universes, that animals live in a different universe and kind of
You can
gods or so?
you can say so, and you can also enter other universes that are totally different of this universe. But within this manifestation, it's like there are different creatures living in it that live quite in a different universe. Yes.
You mean humans?
Yeah, humans and other creatures. Like sometimes it seems that there was a great Indian teacher, Swami Ramatirtha, and he easily could go into the perception of any animal. So sometimes he would a bit uh, let out a few little drops of what he perceives, like saying, like an ant doesn't see any matter, but just clouds. Everything is like vapor, like clouds. On the other hand, he says an elephant who is such a huge animal and need not be afraid of anybody, but they see everything huge. So sometimes we easily went into this consciousness, and sometimes he was dropping out little drops, but he never elaborated because he was also continuously busy trying to bring people back to the essence.
Okay. Sounds interesting, but I got the message.
Yeah. One can get lost in so many details, and we can use the time better.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Ayo.
Just before when Andres opened, Anton, there you are. Hello, Anton.
Hello, Werner. Hello, me. So, I don't have a questions, but it's interesting. If I'm a consciousness, why don't I realize a deeper level of self-awareness as what I am made of? How can I see this? And
Yes.
why is my body so limited, and how I can change it?
Yes. By continuously bringing the attention back to that which makes the experience possible. Like when I don't know whether you were already here when I started, when I asked this question to Nisargadatta, I'm hearing all these great things, all this Brahman. I'm hearing it, I'm listening, I'm thinking about it, I'm meditating about it, but it doesn't change my experience. Why? Why? And his answer, because of ignorance. And that ignorance is not simply ignorance, meaning that I have not understood. Ignorance means all that habitual way we have learned to perceive. And even if we are aware that there is much more than that, it simply doesn't go from one day to another. It has been used and reused and crystallized and hardened in such a way that it's after that, as it has become worse and worse and grown in time, it needs also usually time to undo the density of it. But if you keep on connecting with the essence, then this is happening by itself, gradually, gently. Your body changes, your perception start to change. Eventually, other states of consciousness will be easier accessible. What is important is that we learn not to get fixed on any of those things, but that we are bringing the attention back to that sense of being alive, of being present, and learn to relax. And the rest is like a lotus flower slowly opening up by itself. Some people, they are being born with a lot of perceptions that others don't have. They have see subtle things and are capable of doing certain things on subtle levels. And most of the people can't. But usually it's not an advantage for them. It has also the drawback that then if they don't have the spiritual maturity, that they put themselves in a position and take themselves very, very serious because they are capable of doing things that and perceiving things that other people cannot. And then getting a lot of respect because of that. And that in itself can then become rather an obstacle than a help. But why is the perception not changing? Why is the body not changing? Because it has, from the habit that has power, has its own momentum, has been formed like this, and in order to change it, usually it just takes also time to let go of the old conditioning that is forcing the consciousness to stay locked in that same bubble. Anyhow, I'm sure you have experienced experiences that are different from that are not locked into that. But then why is it coming back to that again? That when that experience goes, then why should it after that still come back and feel again in the old way? And that is something we just have to accept will take its own time. You asked, what can you do? You can just sincerely continue, connect as good as you can, and relax in one way or another. When you become aware, there is sort of a sense of disconnection, come home, connect, and relax.
So how to connect?
How to connect? I mean, we are always connected. This is a manner of speaking, but we are unconscious of the fact that we are connected. So when I say connect, then I say bring the consciousness to that. Become aware that there is not a separation from that essence and from what I am. How to connect? You just do whatever you are doing in your spiritual practice, but you don't do it as a technique to somehow reach somewhere, but train yourself to become aware that the techniques helps you to become more self-aware here now. That the attention is directed back to the source.
So the nature of questions is to get satisfaction, but satisfaction is a part of Maya. Why don't I understand this simple thing in other bodies? And I keep asking you questions in other bodies. What do I want with these questions in other bodies? I want them to disappear, but they don't disappear. So the mechanism is wrong, isn't it? Don't I understand in other bodies that this doesn't lead anywhere? Why don't I understand this in other bodies?
It's not It's not wrong, but it's good to know basically from talking, it doesn't bring anything. But the talking can somehow, if one opens the heart, can make a bridge. And then there is a deeper understanding, a direct, more direct understanding than understanding the words and think about it and put it into presence. So the asking questions and talking is not basically wrong, but it's good to know it's just basically a connecting point, and what matters is much more that one opens to a deeper connection. It's not simply an intellectual understanding of what I'm blubbering away, but that through the words, through the thoughts, through the conversation, that there is a much more profound connection that can happen. In the beginning, when I was with Amma, first, I was not even interested in asking questions. I thought, oh, now I'm here in that power field and things will explode and happen quickly. But then they didn't happen as quickly as I would have liked. So then I started to have doubts, like thinking I'm doing something wrong. And so I used to go after her and ask questions. But she said, you know enough, you go and sit and meditate. She was blah, blah, blah. We were only a small group. And she was blah, 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 talking with everybody the whole day long. When I tried to ask questions, he said, yeah, you know all that, shut up, go and meditate. But then, as the time passed and I became more insistent, then she would sometimes let me ask my questions. Once when I complained, I said, you never answering my questions. Why are you not helping me? And then she said, okay, tomorrow you come and you bring all your questions. And then I wrote it down, because often also when I had a question, then I went close to her, then the question disappeared and I didn't have the question anymore. So I was writing down a whole list of questions, and astonishingly, I was totally surprised. She was answering every question very good, very to the point, like she usually didn't do. But that doesn't mean that my questions were gone. After that, of course, from those answers, new questions would arise. So it didn't take very long. I was at her door with a new list of questions. And already it didn't work quite so well anymore.
Yeah.
And then when I insisted next time trying again to somehow make her answer my questions good and reasonably and helpful, then she looked at me and said, hey, don't expect anything from this talking. But that doesn't mean the talking, the asking questions, the talking is wrong. It's just good to know that it's just a way of connecting, a way of keeping the attention focused, but at the same time, something much more profound can happen, a much more profound connection. And we can have that connection talking, or we can have that connection just silently doing that. Mm. In the Indian mythology, the teacher of the teachers is Dakshinamurti. This is a form of Shiva that silently sits and doesn't talk. And the saints and the sages, they come and sit at his feet and all their doubts disappear without talking.
What I am consist of.
What you are consisting of. Well,
Yes.
it depends on what level you are looking at yourself, but what you really are,
Consciousness.
what you permeate, that by which you are permeate, wait, pervade, yeah? Or that you go through all the levels. That cannot be explained to you. It cannot be named what you are. And yet it's so familiar, it's the nearest, the dearest, but no teacher has ever been able to tell what that is. Even if you call it consciousness, consciousness is already an expression of that. And
Yes.
everyone has to find out for themselves what that is, but not finding it out by figuring it out in the brain, by understanding. You cannot understand what you are. As long as you are understanding, you are standing under. You come back to the center, you are that. You know that by being and not by mental calculations. So what are you? You are that Sachidananda. You are that divinity. You are that which makes everything possible. And yet, even these are only names. Only you can really find out what that is. Because you are that.
How I can remember it?
Okay, I think we leave it at that for today. Shall we? Hari Om. Hari Om. And I'm asking, there is some more time. If there is anybody else who would like to come, there is Nava. Hello, Nava.
Hi, Werner. This morning I saw something that Nisargadatta had said, and it had to do with his moment of enlightenment. And he said that it was when I stopped being an individual. Can you expand on that?
I don't think he didn't. I don't think he tried to describe uh, his enlightenment. But I guess this was in answer to a question how he perceives and then what is the difference.
Yes.
Yes, and he used to say things. Previous, I used to create a world, and now I'm not doing it. Previous, I was creating a world and populating it, and now I'm not doing it. What he means when he says he's not more the individual, then that he's not more bound by that form, by that appearance. Still, the form was living on. Still, he had his memories of his youth in a village. Still, he had his character, which was quite temperamental.
Mhm.
But he was not more identified with that. He thought this is a play. Previous, it was for him, that's what I am. And after that, that's one other way of saying what I'm saying, to become aware this is just a role that we are playing, to be not more that individual.
He says something else I saw that someone asked him, well, how do you feel?
Yeah.
It's in his book, right? And he says, I'm just like you. I feel anger. He said, when my lunch isn't ready on time, I get angry, and all these things that he said he feels, and I feel hunger. But he said they feel very far away from me.
Mm.
And
Right.
and so um, I think of my own experience. Sometimes things feel so close, um, whether it's what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling. And sometimes it's like they're there, but they're kind of in the background.
Yes. Yes.
Is that it? So it's not because, from what I understand, he was not always a very nice man. Reading his book, he was quite short with people.
Oh, yes.
Uh,
He
yes.
he used to yell at people, and he didn't bother to somehow refine his village character that he had. It just he didn't bother to do so. So he was not like a saint that you imagine that peacefully sits there, and sometimes something very gently comes out of him, but he was.
Mhm.
But it didn't matter, because it was not that which counted.
And
Was,
did you feel that from him? That behind
oh
that
yes,
brush?
there was something tremendous there, something very strong, powerful, helpful. Hmm. Yes. He yelled, he yelled at me. What I gave him gave him the opening, and then he yelled at me, and then I was still very new in India, didn't quite know that I should behave differential with an also like that. So he was putting the finger on my things, and I responded, and he yelled, but every time with it was like I was, my head was a bit more down, and at the end it was just empty. He said, "Ask question," and, and nothing came out anymore.
Mhm.
So with his rather rustic behavior, he did also things to people.
I have another question,
Yeah,
and it has to do with bad deeds.
yeah,
Okay, many years ago, really many decades ago, at different times, I did some things that hurt some people, different people at different times.
yeah,
And in each case, it may have taken years, but eventually I spoke to the person I had heard about what had happened and why it happened, not as an excuse, but just for some understanding.
yes,
And I find lately that it's coming back to haunt me again,
yeah, yeah,
and it's affecting my behavior, and it's affecting especially how I feel with myself.
yeah,
And I'm finding that all the things that I've been doing, um, my readings and my meditation and everything, it's all affected. It
yeah,
seems to be getting in the way of everything.
yeah, right.
Okay, and I'm not sure what to do about it.
Right. So basically, you said when it was necessary or possible at all, you somehow talk to the people, and basically that was leveled out. So it's not necessary to go and run again to somebody and apologize. And
No.
all right, then you just accept that there are these dark spots in the past. But the past is the past of the story, of the personality. And that there are, everybody has their little things, bigger or smaller, that are not glorious. But when they come up like this, and they come with emotions, with the tendency to condemn oneself, to judge oneself, then just see that. See the emotion that comes along with it. And just observe. Observe what it is doing to your experience right now. You don't get into ethical discussion about how wrong it was or something. You just see, okay, that was not right, but it's the past, it's a story. And you observe how it is affecting your experience right now. When it's come, if you can drop it, drop it. But if it's coming and coming strong, doesn't want to go, then rather do the opposite, invite it. Okay, come up and see the whole situation again. And see what is happening right now when you remember these actions, when you remember maybe what effect it had on people. See how, what it is doing to your experience right now. And when you see that, then already you are objectifying it. Then you are not more in it. And then you learn to relax. Then you just accept, okay, this story has some not so glorious points, so what? It's the past. It's only a memory. It doesn't exist except when I hold on to. It exists only as a memory. There's only now that you are touching reality. All else is in the mind. And then there is a memory. Okay, it's a memory, not a nice memory, not a glorious, flattering memory. So what? Still, you can draw wisdom from that. So knowing that, all right, doing these kind of things is hurting mainly myself. It still has the tendency to hurt. So all these kind of bad doings is a stupid way of spending one's energy and one's time, because it's hurting them and it's hurting you, it's hurting me, it's hurting me even today if I let it. But you can learn that it is just, let it go in such a way that it's just a memory and you have the wisdom of it, but it's not more capable of influencing your reading and your meditating and your interacting. Let it come in full force when it wants to come. Observe how it is influencing you, what it is doing to you energetically and physically, how the emotions, the thoughts want to get sucked in certain circles, but you observe it and you relax. And by relaxing, you're detaching. And when you are detached from it, at the end, it's just a story that has no more power over you. And then you don't have to push it away. Then you can be aware, okay, that is there in that story. And actually, that has contributed to the wisdom that is manifesting now.
When you say to relax, are you saying to be with it, or what are you saying?
I'm saying that you are observing, and then when the tendency is that the attention is sucked into it, but then you are observing. And then in that observation, you can see that different layers have the tendency to get quite tense about it, physically, energetically. And then you relax physically. relax energetically as good as you can. And then mentally, intellectually also it's relaxing. And then that energy that is still, obviously still caught up in it, that it comes up again so strong and it influences you. Something is still caught up in it. But if you are seeing it, if you let it come, but then learn to relax, that which is caught on it, that energy is evaporating and you are getting free from it. It's not that you have to push it away and forget about it. It's simply that it stops having power over your present.
I have felt that I need to do that just to be with it.
Yes.
And every time I try, it's been so painful that I shy away. But I've known all along that that's what I have to do.
Right. You don't have to go in search for it. It's not that you have to go and dig in the third and there is something more. Just be here now at ease, at peace. But if it's coming up and disturbing you, then you can give attention to it and rather invite it. Okay, come. And then observe. And in that, don't try to do anything, just relax. And it will, that energy that is not harmonized will evaporate.
Yeah. I think the relaxing is the hard part around it.
Right. Because
Right.
something, there is also the feeling I need to have a bad conscience and feel bad. I cannot just accept it and relax. But this is just another way of the personality to wants to stay in charge. It's it sounds nobler that I need to feel bad for the mind. I need to feel bad about it, but to accept, okay, it's there and it doesn't matter anymore.
I shall try.
Yes. And the same thing may come, and then you do that, and it may feel, it's gone. And for the time being, it's gone, but maybe it's not completely emptied. It may come back and bother you again. Then you accept, okay, there's some more work to do. Again, you do the same thing. You let it come. You observe. You see what it is doing right now, but you learn to relax. Instead of holding on to and think, oh, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible.
And is the breath a good way to help with that relaxation?
But exactly is the question.
When you say to relax with it,
Yeah.
is the breath a good way to do that?
Yes, yes. Breathing consciously along with it helps. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Wish you well.
Thank
Hari Om.
you.
Hari Om. Hari Om. When Nisargadatta said to me, it's because of ignorance that you are not aware. With that ignorance, he meant all those things, all those weights that we are carrying along. Like now I just said about deeds in the past that we did that were glorious. And we somehow have not let go of it, but think it's something that I have to keep and feel bad about. It's simply all that stuff that keeps that me person ID together and prevents us from being aware of the essence. It's not that we have to do a mental mechanism acrobatic, like if we have done things that we are not proud of, that we should somehow convince ourselves, no, it was good. No, not everything we did was good. As long as we are talking about good and bad, there are actions that are not good. But we can be free of it. We need not carry them along. we can cut through that layer of ignorance that is being maintained by holding on to things instead of letting them go. Here, now, we are free. Here, now, there is only reality. Here, now, you are touching that which is not bound by form, by time, by space. The ignorance is in the story. The ignorance that prevents us from being aware of it is in the habit. And it's not that certain habits, certain things we have to hold on to and keep. Let it be there as a memory. Let it be there as a teaching. But we need not carry the weight along with us. This ignorance we can cut through, come back home and be what we are. I wish you all well. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.